May I have your attention, please? The podcast World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment, is now on the air. May I have your attention, please? The podcast World Awakenings is now on the air.
This is World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with your host, Carl Gruber. World Awakenings is a podcast dedicated to opening your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to all things metaphysical and spiritual, and just how they play an all-important role in our daily life. So join Carl on this enlightening experience as he interviews metaphysical and spiritual experts to discuss, debate, and delve deeply into the hows and whys of this worldwide awakening.
We welcome you to the World Awakenings podcast. Before we start, we'd like to tell you about a special ebook written by the show's host, Carl Gruber. The 3 Pillars, a simple 3-step process to manifest positive and permanent change in your life. The concise 32-page 3 Pillars ebook will teach you how to become a successful and consistent co-creator of your life path with the law of attraction. Yes, you can manifest the life you truly desire, and the ebook is absolutely free. Simply go to Carl's website, carlgruberlifecoach.com. That's KARLGRUBER lifecoach.com. Click on the header title About Me and get the free download today. Carl Gruber's free ebook, The 3 Pillars, will positively change your life.
And the journey to all things enlightening, spiritual, and metaphysical continues right here with yet another awesome episode of this podcast, World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment. Hi, I'm your host, Carl Gruber, and as always, I am super excited to bring another amazing expert to you for a one-on-one chat that will help you to elevate and awaken to your own true self, the you that is ready to blossom into all that you can be in the most beautiful, happy, abundant, and beneficial way. But before I introduce her today, I seriously would like to ask you to go ahead right now and click that subscribe button below to help spread the word about this podcast and to help us thrive and increase our reach to every person on the planet. This show's mission is to ask the question, why now, more than ever, are the people of the world awakening to all things enlightening? Well, our featured guest on today's show is Jillian Schleger, who is a Reiki master, an EFT practitioner, also known as emotional freedom technique or tapping, an author and the creator of kinetic divination. And as a multi-creative, she's deeply involved with photography, art, music, and penance. Plus, she is the author of the books, Morning Mantras for Allowing Love Edition, Morning Mantras for Allowing Boss Edition, and her latest, Emergence Healing, the Emotional Aftermath of Disease. From Nova Scotia, Canada, let's welcome Jillian Schleger. Thank you for being on the show, Jillian.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. So excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And just to let people know, we were having fun getting this show on the road here, so to speak, because we had a couple of tech issues, but thanks to Jillian's tech support, she's awesome. Maybe she just sent me some healing energy for this. So.
Good tech juju.
Yeah, I like it. Well, let's find out. So, okay, Jillian, before we dive deep into all the wonderful things that you do as a healer and as an energy and light worker, give us an idea on how you got to this place where you discovered you had the ability to help heal and empower people to create a better life for themselves.
Well, it's been a journey, as most of, healers will tell you. There's a journey, there's a process. I kind of joke there's a Greek myth around it about a centaur whose name is either Chiron or Chiron. I named my cat after this, actually, Chiron with the
Oh,
pronunciation, but I'm not sure if that's correct. So I apologize for anybody who knows this myth and I'm mispronouncing it, but I kind of call it the Chiron or the Chiron curse. This Greek myth was of a centaur who was mortally wounded and the gods helped him heal. But in order for him to heal, they said, we're only going to heal you 90% to keep that wound a little bit active in your body so that you remember to teach other people how to heal. And a lot of healers have this curse in that we feel pain. So, and we have this rule that we feel we need to heal others. And in order to heal others, we need to have pain ourselves. And that was certainly true with me. I went through so much. I went through a cancer diagnosis, a divorce, bullying at one job after another, after another, after another. And then early childhood, I was adopted. So I had 6 caregivers before I was 6 months old. And that instills, if anybody knows the energetic chakra system, that instills a lot of breakages in the foundation of our root chakra, which actually starts forming when we're in vitro, when 3 months old as a fetus.
Wow.
So this was a journey to get to the point where I finally said, okay, enough is enough now. What do I have to do to create a life where I really am thriving and I get to help other people thrive? So then all of a sudden there was this download almost immediately when I asked that question. And the download was, you do this step and this step and this step, and that is kinetic divination.
Did you ask that question of the universe when you were still a child, or an adolescent, or as an adult?
Oh, I wish I was a child when I asked that question. No, it was about 6 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So very interesting. And many of my guests describe and work with people who have had trauma, and as you said, it is a journey. I mean, each of our lives is a journey to get where we're at right now. But so from what you're telling me, I mean, obviously you're an empath if you feel other people's, and empaths have that unfortunate, or as you call it, a curse of taking on everybody else's energies and problems, and that has to weigh you down psychologically and even physically, right?
Yes, it really does. I like how, if you know of Teal Swan and her work, and she says that empaths are not born. We're all born, we're bioenergetic beings. So we're all born with this innate intuitiveness, this, the energetic entanglement or quantum entanglement that we now know of as being actually true and real. We become entangled with people, places, things in our lives energetically. But the empath becomes entangled emotionally and with our thought processes as well. So as Teal Swan says, the empath is actually made from being in environments which are unpredictable. And we become highly sensitive so that before we even enter into an environment, we have that protective mechanism to suss out. As an empath, you walk into a room and you don't look for the safest place to be. As an empath, we walk into rooms sussing out what is the most hurt person. Where's the danger? Where am I needed? And that's what we gravitate to.
Well, it's almost like you have radar that hones in on the biggest hurt. Wow. So, and I've had one of my very good friends, Terry Wilson, who is a past guest on the show a couple years ago. He's an empath, and he would tell me he'd go out about his day, and by the time he got home, about all he could do was lay down on the couch and go,
Yeah.
Well, how
really simple, if we can, simple exercise, like let's get right down to the nitty gritty here. Nobody teaches us. Even I've had training for Reiki, for therapeutic touch, for EFT, for NLP. I've had all of this training. Nobody has ever said to me, in the morning and at night, eject all outside energy from your body.
Yeah.
And it's that simple. You don't need to be a Reiki master to do this. You just claim, hey, this is my body.
Right.
And I'm ejecting all outside energy from my body right now.
Yeah, I like that. That you have to learn that you have the choice to not carry other people's energies. But yeah, and I like you said, everybody has some form of empathy, but I'm not quite at the level you are. So yeah, you have to learn to do that. So where you're at now, how exactly would describe how would you describe what you do right now? What is it? How would you describe, what's that? Or they call it the elevator speech.
Yeah, or a unique USP, unique serving proposition.
Yeah, oh, I like that.
Yeah. Right now, I help business owners who are empaths to unpack and unravel money trauma and wounds so that they can create the business and the life that they love.
Okay, excellent. And when I went to your website, JillianSchleger.com, yeah, you definitely emphasize that too. And I'm a certified law of attraction life coach, so I work with many clients and I always like to ask this of other light workers and coaches in your work and your coaching to help people empower themselves and create the life they really want. What role does an individual's ability to choose play in that?
100%. Absolutely. And we're taught to speak to a higher power, the God source universe, whichever we prefer to name this higher power. But we're asked to ask or to pray. We're not told to choose. And nothing outside of ourselves can do anything because we have something called free will.
Right.
We have free will. So, and I created this image on Facebook. I loved it. It was so funny because there was this guy sitting on a truck and there was this vast universe and stars and beautiful glistening above him. And he was looking up and there was I put this little bubble above his head that said, why are you helping me? Tell me what tell me what I need to do. And there was a bubble from the universe that said, tell me what you want.
Yeah.
So we're sitting here going, why aren't you giving me what I want? Why don't I have what I want? And the universe, or God or source, or your cheer team, guides, angels, they're all saying, just choose. Just tell me what you want. Claim it. We have to claim it with belief that we can have it. We also, there's the one of the main blocks that I see time and time again, and I struggled with these as well, is the belief that we can choose it, but can have it as well. And a lot of your listeners, you and I possibly as well, we read so many books about the law of attraction, about manifesting, about actualizing, about receiving, about creating. So we know a lot of this stuff, but there's a difference between knowing something and believing it.
Well, and I'm really glad that you pointed out that at some point we have to realize that we have the power to choose. And I think you and I both know that people that we work with, and it doesn't even have to be people we work with, just casual friends, most people think they're the victim of the world, that everything is outside of them. And and heck, we can dive deep into spirituality on that too, but when I have a coaching session coming up with a client, I make sure right up front to say, you know what, it's not me who's going to change you, or help you to create the life you want. I'm here to help you realize that the power to do so is within you already. You just have to choose to do it. And it is amazing we have a planet of almost 8 billion people in the world now, and most people don't realize. They think they're just a ship in the ocean without a rudder. It's not my fault. Yeah. It's your fault.
Yeah. We're programmed for that though.
Oh, yeah.
In public school, we had to raise our hand to go to the bathroom. So we had to ask for permission from a very young age to do everything, to ask for anything that we wanted. We had to ask for permission. So we're programmed. So it's not our fault, but it is our responsibility to now choose something different. And I had a client who kept saying for over a year, I would teach her something and she'd say, well, I know that, you told me that so many times. And then there was this one day that it clicked and she just went, oh, I feel that now.
Yeah.
I feel that choice. And that's what kinetic divination does. It gives you the tools, because you can't change an internal system or program from an outside external choice or system or program or information. Can't be done. You have to do it from the inside.
And that leads me to, because I was reading your website blog a little while ago, and I saw you have this question posted on your blog. It says, and this is what your question says: what am I choosing that, if I was refusing, would allow me to receive the greatness of me? Could you explain that?
Yeah. This is, I call it an access consciousness-esque question. If you're unaware of access consciousness, anybody, it's such a beautiful modality, and they really focus on questions. If we're asking a question like, why isn't this working for me? That doesn't create anything. But if we ask a question that is phrased in kind of a crazy, funky, different way, our brain in our reticular activating system will go hunting for proof of and evidence of that thing. We're always seem to be asking questions in our lives. Unfortunately, we're asking the wrong questions. And that's what happened with me, with the cancer, with the divorce, with the bullying, relationships going awry. I kept saying, what's wrong with me? So what was I looking for? My brain, my body, all aspects of me kept looking for, oh, okay, I'll show you evidence of what's wrong with you. So my reality started showing me evidence of, well, this is wrong with you and this is wrong with you. And I kept believing that. So when I shifted and flipped the question to be, body, subconscious, universe, show me evidence of what's right with me. Show me evidence of what's going right in my world. When we ask kind of crazy, funky questions like that, we'll start to see evidence of what's going right in our reality.
Well, that's really beautiful that you can do that. And like I said, it's kind of, for me, and you were talking about asking questions. One of the things when I was going through my year-long life coaching certification program is one of the things they teach you as you're becoming a coach is when you work with a client to ask powerful questions. And why that is important is when you do that to a client and you say, well, if you had your dream house right now, that $3 million home that you've always wanted sitting right on the ocean, how would that make you feel? A lot of people are actually stumped because they are not used to being empowered on the spot. And most people are afraid to allow their imagination, their imagery to go to the ultimate place of what they really want.
That's a jump. So this is where a beautiful process comes in that's part of the key founding components of kinetic divination is the map of consciousness by Dr. David Hawkins.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
The map of consciousness goes from 20 to 1,000.
Yep.
So if somebody's at 20 or 30 or 50 on a map of resonance scale, which is, you can transcribe this to emotions. 20 is shame, 30 is guilt, and 50 is like grief. 100 is anger. So if I have it right beside me, just to make sure I'm giving you the right ones. So anger is 150, fear is 100. I knew there was off. So if somebody's at fear, somebody's at 100, and you're saying flip to joy, that's too much of a jump.
Yes. Yeah.
They can't see. And this is where I sat in shame, which is 20 megahertz, for decades, for a really long time. And people who would say to me, well, what do you want to create in your life? I would follow life coaches online, and they would just ask these questions like, you can't just choose to have it. And I'm like, what does that even look like? We can't perceive what that looks like because we're at a lower resonance, and there's nothing wrong with your resonance. There's nothing wrong with your resonance. So many spiritual teachers will say to raise your resonance, you have to be high vibe to manifest. You don't have to be high vibe to manifest. You can manifest virtually at almost any resonance, but we really need to accept ourselves where we are and just go up a little bit. So if we're at fear, what would courage look like? That's a little bit of a jump. That's able to digest for people.
Well, and I love that you brought up David Hawkins' map of consciousness. I mean, that was amazing what he came up with. I don't know how long ago. That is in the book Power versus Force. Yeah. And humanity itself was resonating at below 200, which is in baseball we would say is below the Mendoza line. You're not hitting very well. And at some point a few years ago, it had a big jump, and that's, again, we could go into astrology and spirituality and what's going on with humanity moving into 5D. But what you were talking about, that being too big of a jump, is beautiful too, because here's an analogy, and this even goes back to the movie The Secret that Rhonda Byrne put out in 2006 or 7. They talk about this, that if you want to be here, but you want to jump up way here, it is too much. How, since everything is energy and vibrates at frequency, so if you're vibrating at this low level frequency for, the last 35 years, and you want all of a sudden go up here, I use the analogy of an old fashioned radio when you had the knobs that you had to turn to change the channel instead of a push button. So if you're at 89.7 FM and you want to be at 107.9 FM, you can't just push a button. You have to take that knob and turn it and change your frequency slowly from one end of the dial until the other. And it's not instantaneous, but that is a great example. Yeah, you have to slowly change that. And that's when you start to see manifestations of what you want becoming more and more consistent in your life.
Yeah. And there's K27 points, or your kidney 27, just right underneath your clavicle. And you can feel around, there's actually little indents in the tissue underneath your skin. And if you tap there, immediately you start to take a deep breath. And that allows you to kind of disconnect from the lie of the reality that you see in front of you, because it's actually not your reality that you're seeing. You're actually seeing remnants of your past. Your past choices are now displaying in front of the lens of your eye. And if you detach from that, all like your emotions, your energy, your thought processes, just detach from what you're seeing and not responding to what you're seeing in front of you. Tapping on your K27 allows you to just calm into a calm space, detaching from your reality in front of you. And then you can say, what would I like to see instead? How would I like to feel instead? And it could be going from frustration to maybe courage or willingness or acceptance. And maybe that feels a little bit better. And can you allow yourself to feel a little bit better? Because there are some clients that I've had who had this rule of, well, no, I should be suffering. No, you're allowed to feel better. So even if you could just feel a little bit better now, tip the scale a little bit, how would you like to feel? And then once you get that feeling, you can tap on the middle of your sternum, which is your thymus thump. And tapping there kind of anchors in. And now you're choosing something a little bit better. And it can be that quick.
And what you're talking about, tapping on the clavicle, of course, is one of the key pressure points when you do emotional freedom technique or tapping. Yeah. Wow. And I encourage anybody who has not even looked at tapping to give it a try. It is pretty awesome. It really does work. Well, just continuing again with what you do, and you know, looking at your beautiful website, JillianSchleger.com, I noticed that you use the term spiritual boss. What is that?
Yeah. So I work with online entrepreneurs, and these online entrepreneurs we call bosses. And most of the bosses, most of the entrepreneurs that I work with are spiritual. So they have a spiritual practice. They have certain beliefs which aren't indicative. They don't run across the board. Some people believe in God, some people believe in source or the universe as the main focus power in their lives. But all of them have a spiritual practice and foundation that they really believe that they have a purpose, they have a vision and a mission. They were brought here at this time to help in this creation, this expansion, this process of bringing us up into 5D and awakening so many other people. And it's funny how, like, we as coaches create this vibration and attune other people to this vibration, and the ripples just go out and touch so many different people. It's a beautiful process.
So these entrepreneurs and people you work with, and I'm sure with anybody you work with, what for you, what is the biggest challenge that you face with clients who come to you to help them get unstuck and undo their blocks?
Well, the biggest challenge right now, because I work with entrepreneurs primarily right now, the biggest block is money.
Yeah.
And the feeling of being undeserving of it, the feeling of it has to come from them, to them from an outside source. And just like we said before, we have free will. So it is our choice. We need to start to claim and demand and choose to have it. And we come from, most of us come from having a job. I say a DJ, a day job, right? And that day job you have a boss, you have a manager, you have somebody handing you a check. So that is, my dog's snoring, if you just heard that. But that is,
hey, yeah, at least he's enjoying life, you know.
Yes, he is doing that, yes.
As is your cat behind you.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Like, the whole couch is empty. There's the blanket in one spot, and that's where she chooses. Like, she's a princess.
Yeah, really. So, well, yeah, go ahead with that. So,
but we get money from an outside source. So we're used to asking. It's, again, you know, that child who raises their hand to go to the bathroom, to ask permission to go to the bathroom, where we feel like we need to ask permission from an outside source to create, earn, receive money. So that is, and it's really interesting because in kinetic divination, we follow the root all the way up the chakra system. So we could have something in early childhood, like, you know, last summer, I was talking with my neighbor outside. Her daughter was playing outside. She found a dime in the driveway, which is gravel. So she went to her mother and said, "Look, money, there's money right here. Money." And her mother knocked it out of her hand and said, "Oh, that's dirty."
Oh no.
So what goes right into her brain? And there's a program: money's dirty.
Yeah. Wow.
Right? We all have something similar to that. So could start from the root chakra and then come up to the solar plexus, and then maybe the heart, or maybe the third eye. So it can come all the way up the chakra system. So we just have to unpack that and reprogram it with something that will create what they want.
Well, I'll give you a funny story about that. I mean, as I mentioned to you, I've been a runner for decades, and I run on a daily basis outside. And over the years, I've collected a couple $100 in coins that I have found while I was running. And how that came about, I just started to be appreciative and grateful for any and all abundance that shows up in my life, whether it's a penny or a quarter. Occasionally I've found dollars, that type of thing. But when I pick it up, I say, infinite love and gratitude for this little tiny symbol of the unlimited wealth, prosperity, and abundance that flows into my life. And one of my running buddies, she's picked up on it too, and we're running, and who can find a quarter first? But it allows you to appreciate that flow of abundance. It's not dirty, it is money, and that translates into abundance in our life. For me, I grew up in the blue collar east side of Cleveland. My father worked in a factory for 45 years, and he was a World War II vet. And my mom was a homemaker her entire life. How many times I heard growing up, we can't afford it. We can't afford it. And, still, I mean, even at this point in my life, there's times I have to overcome that. So beautiful what you're doing.
Want to do a short exercise? And I'm sure a lot of your listeners and your audience have something similar that's stuck in their emotional body and energetic body.
Yeah, let's do it.
What I do is using the map of consciousness in combination with muscle testing. And if you want, you can put your hand flat on your chest, like by your clavicle, and your palm is flat down, your thumb, all your fingers are flat, but you're going to raise your index finger. And with your other hand, you're going to try to keep that index finger up off your skin, but you're going to test your strength with your other finger. So you're just testing it. So you're not arm wrestling yourself. You're not proving how strong you are. You're just testing for a baseline. You're feeling, what does that feel like? What does that strength feel like? And then you say, yes. Body, show me what yes feels like and looks like. Yes, 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 yes. And then you say, body, show me what no looks like. Show me. And you press down and you say no, and your finger loses all strength because your body can't lie. That's what muscle testing is. Your body can't lie, and your body never forgets. Never. So even if you were a 4-month-old little fetus in your mama's womb, and your mother hears something, or somebody says something to her, she's witnessed something and she has an emotional shock, that emotional shock reverberates through her system, and your little root chakra that's starting to form goes, oh, I need to suck that up. I don't know what that is, but I'm just going to pull that in. So maybe you have a fear of loud noises for all of your life, right? It's amazing what we hold on to. So the body never forgets.
And that muscle testing, of course, goes back to Dr. David Hawkins, who called it kinesiology testing, I believe. And he would use the arm and said, and it usually took 2 people, but now you're showing how to do it by yourself. And that is because the body, where your true self resides, it knows the truth and gets past the lies of the ego when we verbalize it.
Yeah. And for years and years and years, I knew about muscle testing, but I wasn't able to muscle test myself because I was sitting at shame, which is 20 megahertz. You do need to be at, if you're having trouble with this, you need to be at 200, which is courage, 200 megahertz. And Dr. David Hawkins talks about this in his book, Power versus Force. But an easy way to sidestep this is just to take 20 seconds and think about that favorite cat that loves to sleep on your favorite blanket or your dog snoring. Think about something that you love, someone that you love, a place that you love, just for 20 seconds. And it's amazing because I, as an intuitive, I tune into my clients no matter where they are in the world. I have a client who's in New Zealand. I'm in Canada. I tune into her. I hold a pendulum and I muscle test for her because I'm tuned into her energy. So I do this all the time. She's a multi-million-dollar business owner, and I tune into her energy to check in with her alignment with her business, with her programs, with money that she wants to create that month or that day. And it's a beautiful process, but we can do this ourselves. So tuning into something that you love, being grateful, raises your vibration up. And it's awesome when I'm doing this on videos with people and I'm tuning into somebody that I don't know. I only see their profile picture. So I'm tuning into their profile picture and I'm holding a pendulum, and you see the pendulum go from maybe fear or frustration, and it goes all the way up to gratitude. And it takes maybe 20, 30 seconds for you to shift your vibration. So once you've sat in gratitude for a little bit, 20, 30 seconds, then you can either do the muscle testing where you have your hand flat on your chest, or what I created was I call it the whiteboard. You envision a whiteboard out in front of you. And this whiteboard has 0% on the left and 100% on the right. And just for now, just play to populate this whiteboard. So you think of your correct name. So you can say, my name's Carl. And what part of the whiteboard kind of lights up or shows maybe a dart or a ball, or it just shows you something around 100%.
Well, yeah, it would be 100%. Yeah.
Right. So if you said, my name is Sally,
be 0.
Right. And that's how easy it is. And we can play with this. So now when you say, how much energy is blocking abundance from this belief of, or how much do I even believe? What was it? Money doesn't grow on trees, or money isn't.
Yeah, classic stuff. Yeah, yeah, that's the classic line. Money, what do you think? Money grows on trees? So we don't have enough. How can we do that?
Yeah. So everybody listening to this or watching this, if you think of that whiteboard, 0% on the left, 100% on the right, how much are you feeding energy? How much are you believing there's never enough money?
Yeah.
And whatever percentage comes up on the whiteboard, it's okay. You allow that to come up, but know that you can change it. So you tap into your highest vibrational self. And you say, highest vibrational self. And I just want to, before we do that, Carl, what percentage came up for you?
Just on the money? Is that what you're saying?
There's never enough.
Oh, yeah. Well, just initially 50%.
Okay. So 50%. And then we ask your highest vibrational self to just eject, reject, renounce, denounce, and de-story anything, any energy, any perception, any point of view, any conclusion, any expectation around that from this life and others that's attached to you and other people. And I just want you to either physically in the air, grab that 50%, or you can do it mentally. You can think about grabbing that 50% and bringing it down to 0 or close to. And it may move easily, and it may just go, I don't wanna.
Yeah, pretty easy for me to take it down to 0.
Good. So now we're gonna flip it. There's always enough money. And what percentage comes up with that belief that we're now instilling into the body?
Well, of course, yeah, right up to 100%. Yeah, if we're going to flip it.
So now tapping on your sternum, because you just changed that belief from there's never enough to, well, yeah, there's always enough.
There's always
in your
enough.
Sternum, so down in the middle of your chest. That's the thymus thump. Instead of the K27, which is up at your collarbone, the thymus thump is in the middle of your chest by your heart chakra.
Oh, I like that term. You're a musician. You should come up with a song, the thymus thump.
Yeah.
We'll have a lot of drums in it.
Yeah.
Well, this is just awesome. Folks, we were talking with Jillian Schleger. She's just an amazing coach and obviously an empath and a Reiki master, EFT, on, and working with helping shift energy that really is needed with most of us. But I do want to ask you this, because I'm curious about your 2 books about morning mantras for allowing both for love and for the boss, right? Is that it? Tell us about these books. How do mantras help?
Yeah, so I like the word mantra. I also use the word anchor. So we're anchoring in a certain phrase. And I use the word mantra or anchor in place of affirmations because I think we've all used affirmations and we say, I have it, I have it, I have it, I have it, I have it. And then we open our eyes and it's not there. So we're like, what am I doing wrong? So instead of using the word affirmation that we have an emotional attachment to, it doesn't work, or it doesn't work for me, or I'm doing it wrong, we use the word mantra or anchor. And the book's Morning Mantras for Allowing is providing a practice that we just did right now, creating and shifting out of attachment to something negative that isn't creating, that is diminishing, and shifting into choosing something more. So there are several mantras in each of these books for people to choose, to test, to muscle test if they have attachment and alignment with that positive mantra so that they can create change in their lives. And a lot of them are questions like we talked about earlier.
Now, I have to say that, I mean, personally, I utilize affirmations very productively. And I know not everybody does it. As we know, and this would work with a mantra and affirmations, is repetition. And so I will do my morning study of A Course in Miracles, and usually maybe the daily lesson. And so when I usually go out and run in the morning. And so instead of wearing earbuds like so many people do when they run, I'm repeating my affirmations over and over and over. And at some point, I get a powerful emotional plug-in when I'm doing that. And for me, it works. But I'm sure everybody has their own method that should resonate with them in affirmations or mantras.
Yes, and you're right. I think a lot of people say an affirmation or say something around what they want to create, their desire in their life, and they say it once or twice, and then they say, "Where's my stuff?" And it really is because, a morning practice, if you're sitting down for 2 to 4 minutes, or even 20 to 30 minutes, and you're thinking about that thing that you want to create in your reality. But then the rest of your day, your brain is saying, I can't have it, I can't do it, I can't be it. There's a pendulum, there's a buildup of momentum, of energy and emotion that is swinging. There's a momentum of, I can't have it, I can't do it, I can't be it. So that 2 minutes or 4 minutes or 30 minutes in the morning, you don't have enough momentum built up in that affirmation, that choice that combats the rest of the day, that momentum. And it is repeating that choice again and again and again and building up that momentum so that when you see something in your reality, and I often say, if we want that green bicycle, but our brother's best friend's nephew's boss's dog got that green bicycle and we didn't, we're saying, where's our stuff? That dog got it. I didn't. How come the dog got the green bicycle and I didn't? I was the one that wanted it. So then we start to, see all this evidence. But if we say that affirmation, say that choice, say that anchor, and repeat it again and again and again and again, that will start to build up momentum.
Yeah, and that is too. It is true. So if I'm running in the morning, I repeat this affirmation a couple thousand times while I'm running. But I've also learned that as I go into my busy day, and I'm busy, but I'll remember, just pause for 30 seconds and repeat that affirmation a few times, and it really does work. So. I want to also pursue your books again. Now, we just talked about those two morning mantra books. What about this is your newest book, right? Emergence Healing, the Emotional Aftermath of Disease. Is that the latest, and what's it about?
That is the latest. It is giving people options to tune into their body, to release stuck energy after you've had a disease or trauma to your body of some sort. And these again give you several statements or questions, I call them, similar to mantras and affirmations. And for you to create a different energy. After my cancer diagnosis, I was even a healer for many years before the cancer diagnosis, like decades actually. I went into neutral. I didn't know what to do. And I was really, it allowed me the time to tune into my body and to say, okay, body, what do you want? Like, is this it? Are we done? Are we done? Because I heard from so many people who had friends who had a family and had children, and they did not survive their fight with cancer. So, and I thought, here I am, little Jillian, I wasn't married, I didn't have children. So I'm like, well, if God, source, universe took that person from her children, like I must be next, right? There's all of these things that go through your mind when you're diagnosed with a disease. And nobody can, this isn't an internal battle. You're at war with something that's happening inside of you that you feel like you don't have any control over. And so I wanted to write this book for people who are going through something similar, either, something as, in quotation marks, big as cancer or another disease. Could be a severe emotional trauma too, going through a divorce. That was very painful. So these are anchors, these are possibilities for you to plug into and create a different energy, so that it's my hope and wish that people feel like they do have a choice. They do have opportunities to heal, even when you're going through a really dark time, really painful and challenging, scary time.
Well, and as you well know, this topic of healing is important to me because I'm a facilitator of a Power of 8 healing group on Facebook, where I have now well over 300 members from around the world. You've been on a couple healing calls where we have people gathered together and we intend and focus healing intentions on people. But one thing that I've really learned and understand now is that we believe we're separate from all that is, so we think the body is all. But my understanding of how disease comes about, it all starts in your mind. In the mind creates what in the body, what it's thinking. Even like I read this morning in A Course in Miracles, I have it right here. Healing is freedom, for it demonstrates that dreams will not prevail against the truth. Healing is shared, and by this attribute, it proves that laws, unlike the ones which hold that sickness is inevitable, are more potent than their sickly opposites. Healing is strength, for by its gentle hand is weakness overcome, and minds that were walled off within a body free to join with other minds to be forever strong. So I think that is one thing that humanity has to really, really start to understand is, sure, so maybe some of those prescriptions work, but you have to start working on the source. The source of the sickness is in your mind, even though you may not admit it. I would never have brought cancer into my life. Why would I do that? Well, there's more to it than you think.
Yeah. And it's hard. Like, I just did a post on Facebook a few days ago about choosing and choice, and somebody had commented and said, well, I had cancer and I would never choose that.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm not here. That I agree with you, Carl. I know, and this is the map of consciousness, Dr. Hawkins, 20 megahertz. So as I said before, I sat in 20 megahertz in shame for decades. 20 megahertz. Cancer grows at 42 and below.
Oh, you were way below that. Wow.
So this is the importance of my work with kinetic divination.
Yeah.
Is also, I don't just work with bosses, spiritual entrepreneurs, online business owners, but I work with other people to empower them and to give them the knowledge of checking in with their baseline. You can muscle test your baseline see what energetic baseline you're at. Because if you're at below 42, I want to help you raise your resonance, because I really do believe that I did create the cancer in my body because I was sitting at the energetic resonance of shame for far too long.
And as we know, the emotion and feelings of shame or guilt or lack of self-worth are, since everything is energy, are vibrating at a lower frequency, where that's induces the stress in your body, and your body just has no ability to heal itself because you're vibrating at that low non-productive level. Wow.
Yeah. And when I was diagnosed, I went into neutral, I say. Like, I drive a stick, I drive a manual car. So I was not in gear. I put myself in neutral, and I just went, okay, body, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I wasn't fighting it. And there's so many people, like, I have, my mother and father are both RNs. So, they're of the mind. I have a cousin who's an RN, a cousin who's a doctor, and they're of the mind of, you do everything in your power to fight this. Well, I did not go into fighting mode. I went into neutral, and I just went, okay, I'm listening. You got my attention. Okay. I don't know why you needed to do, really plant this stick in the ground and go, we're now at war, but you got my attention. I did not go into fighting mode. And that is when I began to listen to my body. Because when I was a healer for a long time, but I would only learn the healing to give to other people. I wouldn't actually implement it myself.
Isn't that funny? Because my lesson in A Course in Miracles today is, when I am healed, I am not healed alone. So
in your Power of 8 groups, that's the same. You said the last time I was on a call, when we're like I say that we're like the fire hose. That source energy comes through our fire hose, and we direct it into the other people, places, things.
Wow. Yeah, this is so wise. Boy, people who are watching and listening, I hope you're loving this, because this is some incredible, beautiful information from Jillian here. I want to ask you, what to you, what is true spirituality for you? How do you see it, and what role does it play in your life?
Wow, that's a big question.
Take your time.
You know what? I'm going to say spirituality is like the acorn. When you look at the acorn, you don't see the forest. But that acorn creates one tree that creates potentially millions of other trees over its lifetime. So the power in that acorn, and the faith that acorn has, is something that propels me to remember, just like the faith of the mustard seed. If we had the faith of a mustard seed, we could move mountains. It's not that mustard seed, if you threw it at the mountain, that it would move the mountain. But that mustard seed knows it's meant to be a mustard seed. That acorn knows that it's meant to be that oak tree. There's no doubt. So if an acorn could have that much resiliency, that much faith, that much determination to be on that path, and no matter what's thrown at it, nope, I am the oak tree. But you look like an acorn. Nope, I'm an oak tree.
That's beautiful too. That reminds me of a little cartoon I saw the other day. It was speaking of cats, we both have our cats hanging out with us right now. A cat with an easel painting a mirror and a easel and a mirror, and looking at herself and a paintbrush in her hand and drawing what she saw herself as, and it was a lion on the screen. So it's like the acorn saying, nope, I'm an oak tree. And the other aspect of that, I like that analogy of an acorn, because that we all have an acorn inside of us. And what that acorn is, our true self, that we're born in oneness with source, with all that is, with God, and just waiting to be awakened and allow it to sprout into that oak tree, or in this case, we could call it the tree of life, the tree of your life. Yeah, very nice analogy. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good question. But we really do, we become entangled with so many other points of view, expectations, conclusions, judgments, criticisms, conclusions from other people. And like the beginning, coming back to the beginning of the call, when we said, I eject all outside energy. And really, if you do that morning, noon, and night for the next 3 days, that creates such a difference that brings you back to that acorn vibration, to your mission. Everybody has a mission. Everybody has a voice. Everybody has a purpose. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you are in this world, or maybe outside of it, wherever you are, you have a mission, you have that purpose, and that's your acorn. And if you eject everybody else's energy from your body, you can tune back into that. Now, with quantum entanglement, we become deeply entangled, and our body thinks that it's part of us with people that are in our lives. So mother, father, brother, sister, teacher, mentor, minister, whoever, friends, children, the people that we're closest to and spend most time with, our energy thinks that is supposed to be there. So oftentimes when we say I eject all outside energy, that doesn't eject the people closest to us, even if they if they have instilled trauma in our lives. Our bodies, our energy doesn't differentiate. Energy is energy is energy. If somebody's like the rice experiment from Dr. Emoto.
Oh yes, right.
Right? Energy is energy. If you say I hate you to rice, and if you say I love you to rice, it creates a reaction. That reaction isn't good or bad. It's just a reaction. Yeah. So somebody who's being traumatizing to you, that's just energy. It may affect our body in a different way, but we still are entangled with that energy. So we have to say, I eject mother's energy, I eject my father's energy, I eject my brother, my sisters. We have to actually name those people, and then that will start to eject. But do that morning, noon, and night to get back to your true vibration.
Yeah, Emoto's even more famous experiment is with water. Saying either to a glass of water, I love you, or I hate you, and then he froze it. And then if he had said I hate you, under a microscope they could see that the ice crystals are all discombobulated and disorganized. And when they said I love you to the water and healed it, it came out in these beautiful geometric shapes that were just beyond description. So, well,
and we are up to 75% water. I did the water alchemy. I did a free Facebook challenge to teach people how to test and check in structure water and charge water in their bodies, because water has memory.
Yeah.
Like those crystallized love crystals that they took the photos of, water has memory, and we're up to 75% water. So it's really,
it's interesting. This actually goes back to the power and effect of gratitude. Every morning after my run, I make a protein shake in the blender, and I put in bananas and almond milk and stuff like that. I actually say to each ingredient how much I love it and its properties that I love, and every single day. And I truly believe that is empowers my body and keeps it healthy by doing that.
Yeah, well, and it's fun. An exercise that I do, because there was it Bannister who did the testing with plants, and he hooked up electrodes to it, and when he made, like, cracked an egg, all the plants in the environment went, oh my gosh, you're killing that egg, right? So what I do now is I hold the egg in my hand and I stand tall and I muscle test. Yes is forward, no is leaning back. And I hold the egg and I say, hey, can I eat you? And if it's a fresh egg, the longer it's been in the fridge, you'll feel the difference. But test it, try this out. Hold an egg and say, hey, can I eat you? And it'll push me back. It'll say no.
Really?
And then when I say I love you, you're gonna make me strong. You're gonna become part of my body, and you're gonna be with me on this mission of my life. And then I'll go, oh well, okay, I'm cool with that. Sign me up for that one. And it'll say yes. And it's really interesting.
This is just totally awesome. We're talking to Jillian Schleger, and we're going to wind up here. I mean, we've just had a beautiful conversation here. I have one final question that I always ask all my guests, considering that the people of the earth are right now living in perhaps one of the craziest and most chaotic times ever in human history. Why do you think that the people of the world right now more than ever, are awakening to all things spiritual and enlightening and metaphysical?
Because that's the way it's supposed to be. I really, truly believe that we're at this time. We all came here right now because we are tipping the scale. People are waking up. And if we ask for and intend to see more truth, just like Led McTaggart's intention experiment, if we set the intention every day to see more truth, more awakening, more evidence of possibilities and opportunities for us to wake up and be even more enlightened, that will happen. And I think that we are here at a time to do just that right now.
Yeah, and well said. And of course, many people, and I've interviewed a lot of channels on here and talked to ascended masters, and they all say that humanity is shifting into 5D consciousness and crystalline bodies. So, that's a whole another 10 shows there. But yeah, definitely happening. And also we talked about, again, referring to Dr. David Hawkins' map of consciousness, as he saw, all of a sudden there was a big shift in humanity's overall consciousness, and I think that was a good indicator. But yeah, and I'll tell you what, I really appreciate being in this time in the world, and I get angst over the crap going on in the world now, and that's why my TV's not even hooked up, because I don't even want to create any more angst. It's not like my head is in the sand, but you know what? It is time, and it is happening. Humanity is awakening to all things enlightening, spiritual and metaphysical, and it's just great. Jillian, thank you so much for being on World Awakenings. You have some amazing workshops and courses and offerings of empowerment on your website. How can people get in touch with you, and what is your website address?
My website is jillianschleger.com. It's Jillian with a J. Schleger is SCHLEGER.com. And my social of choice is Facebook, but I'm also on TikTok a lot. And they can reach out to coach@jillianschleger.com if they'd like to email me.
Excellent. And I would highly suggest that you work with Jillian. I've seen some of the testimonies on her website and beautiful results. And yes, you are we talked about this earlier before we started the show. You're doing very well on social media, and it's interesting because I tell people, social media, personally, you can waste a lot of time on it, but for businesses and getting yourself out there, it is mandatory, and good for you. So Jillian, thank you so much. Namaste, my beautiful friend. Thank you for your wisdom and your love.
Thank you so much for having me. Namaste to you.
This has been another episode of World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with your host, Carl Gruber, a certified Law of Attraction life coach. We welcome you to tune in each and every episode of this podcast, World Awakenings, as we open your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that all the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to the truth of all things metaphysical and spiritual, and just how they play an all-important role in our moment-to-moment everyday life. Much love and light to you, my friend. Thank you for tuning in.